You know who should run for president? Superman. That's who. It's about time we had a badass global leader, don't you think so? For starters, the Man of Steel can say the right names regardless of his age, and he's faster than a speeding bullet. So, no one's going to worry about that either. If you need any further proof, then let me present to you the top 20 most badass Superman scenes. One of the perks of having god-level powers is that you can dominate an entire team of superheroes without even using 20% of your strength. Take this example of Superman against the whole Justice League. To be honest, it feels more like a humiliation of the League rather than a celebration of Kal-El's powers. Like, nobody could even compete with the dude despite all of them charging at him in unison. It's almost as if Clark Kent is the level 100 boss, Wonder Woman is the level 80 secretary, Aquaman is some random level 50 opponent, Batman is a level 2 crook. My favourite moment from this sequence has got to be when Superman follows Flash with his eyes. That must have been creepy AF to the speedster, and the fact that Kal-El managed to land a strike on him was pretty impressive too. The only person able to make some kind of impact was Wonder Woman, but I suppose that's because Clark must have been distracted by the sight of Gal Gadot in that costume. But yeah, the true highlight was when Bruce Wayne had Karma circle back on him real quick. Yeah, asking that question back in the previous movie doesn't feel too cool now, does it, Batman?
Let's put our cards on the table here, General.
You're scared of me because you can't control me. You don't. And you never will.
Here's a piece of advice. If Superman says he's surrendering to you, it's only because he doesn't want to end your life. That one statement pretty much sums up the entirety of this scene, especially if you look at the power dynamic in the interrogation room. Superman is pretty chill when he's talking to Lois Lane for obvious reasons, but when the General and the others get involved, he decides to let them know exactly how useless their weapons are against him. I mean, it must have taken him more effort not to break the handcuffs when compared to actually snapping them. It was so casual and effortless, everyone took a step back, aside from the General. Now that we know it was Martian Manhunter in disguise, I can't really say that it was human bravery on display here, but it still made the General stand out. Either way, Clark Kent is the man in control over here, and that little speech he makes pretty much confirms it. Oh yeah, let's not forget that he was also humoring the puny humans because he was interested in freeing Lois. I suppose being a simp is an infection even superheroes can't run away from.
Why are you surrendering to Zod?
Normally, when Superman shows up, the good guys celebrate with joy. In this case though, not so much. Although I do have to admit that there are villains like the Joker and Amber Heard also in the mix. The main reason why this scene makes it to the list is because of how everyone pisses their pants when evil Superman shows up. Mind you, this isn't Omni-Man or Homelander, it's the real Superman who's become evil. So we're not dealing with a small fry. Sure, everyone prepares for battle except the Joker, who's just standing there and laughing almost as if he's accepted his fate. But yeah, that angry face coupled with those laser eyes would make anyone want to wave the white flag. The power association with this character has become so obvious that you don't need a single word to describe his presence. These superheroes fear him when he's evil because they know exactly how powerful he was when he was good, and usually when you're good, you don't go berserk. One thing I do need to ask though is where the heck is Mira doing standing there with a spear looking brave? What's she gonna do with that weapon? Shave his beard? Oh wait, maybe she'll poop in his bed.
God!
Performance issues are the eternal curse of the male species. It's just like Iron Man said all the way back in the first Avengers movie. It's 1 out of every 3 men.
When they're so busy fighting you.
This usually works.
Well, performance issues, not uncommon. 1 out of 5.
Such issues leave no exceptions. Even Superman had to deal with it in 1980 when he got bullied inside a diner. Luckily, when he did get his powers back, he could stand up to his bully in style. Now that I look back at this scene, it's actually a pretty detailed 3-step method of dismantling your bullies. First of all, he owns him with a line that would violate even the toughest of cookies. Then, he lets his opponent injure himself while punching him, which in my opinion is the most badass display of strength. And if that wasn't good enough, then Clark decides to declare victory with a little spin as well. Of course, we all know what will happen if Superman actually decides to fight this dude, but since he's a superhero, he can't really let his intrusive thoughts take over now, can he? Either way, let this be a reminder to you that bullying is bad, and Superman's gonna come for you if he catches you slipping.
This order's to go. It's been a while since anyone's made the world this nervous. Black Adam.
Who would have thought that the last time we'd get to see Henry Cavill as Superman would be in a post-credits cameo in Black Adam? Well, the world works in mysterious ways, and we should also remember his appearance in the Shazam post-credit scene as well, so it shouldn't have come as much of a surprise. Having said that, it sure felt surreal to see two stalwarts facing each other, almost as if they were teasing us for an epic battle. Of course, we all knew that wasn't going to happen, because by this time, James Gunn had taken over, and the DCEU was effectively a thing of the past. Now, the scene is really short, and Superman is there for all of maybe 5 business seconds, but the impact this created actually led some fans to believe that Cavill would stay on as the Man of Steel. Unfortunately, Black Adam didn't make as much money at the box office as the execs were hoping for, so these dreams were squashed before they could develop any further. On a side note, who do you think would win in an arm wrestling competition between Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill? Let me know in the comments below.
Black Adam. We should talk.
Where is the Codex?
Superman has lived all his life trying to control and suppress his strength in order to make sure he doesn't harm humans. His patience levels must truly be off the charts, so when he ambushed Zod and gave him the thrashing of a lifetime, you knew the General had messed up. How can you even blame Clark Kent for such an outburst? The dude was threatening his mother, and unlike Bruce Wayne, Superman doesn't cry about it. He follows through. Well, there's also the fact that his mother is alive, but I digress. I love how you can hear the sonic boom just before Clark saves his mom. Also, the crack in his voice as he lays into the thrashing really shows he was moving as fast and hard as he could. It really is an amazing scene if you consider these details. Zod's supposed to be this overpowered fighter who was amongst Krypton's finest. However, even he's taken completely by surprise here, and the look on his face really does suggest he was reconsidering his decision to threaten Martha. Sure, he can match Kal-El in terms of strength, but as we all saw, there isn't much that can trump a son's love for his mother.
You can threaten my mother!
This is Evil Superman's second entry, which kind of proves the fact that you've got to tap into the dark side every now and then if you truly want to become a badass fighter. Anyway, this is all part of Batman's dream, which never really comes to fruition because of, James Gunn. Anyway, the moment of truth arrives when Evil Superman shows up and everyone bows down as a mark of respect. Batman, being the prisoner, doesn't really have any kind of leverage, and even though he tries to put on his mean face, he's pretty much begging for his life in his head. I mean, he's just watched the Man of Steel laser down all the other survivors in front of him as if he was just preparing his morning toast. And that's got to send shivers down anyone's spine. Man, you know what? This would make for an amazing spin-off movie or game where you have Batman and a few survivors going against Darkseid and Evil Superman. That post-apocalyptic batsuit with the coat looks awesome as well. I hope someone from Warner Brothers watches this video and gives me the royalties from this game because, trust me, it will make a killing.
Oh, there he is.
Earlier I was talking about how Kal-El had to build his patience in order to ensure that he's not a threat to mankind. Nothing proves that point further than this bar scene right here. A bully's being a creep and Clark, being the good Samaritan he is, stops the messing around in the nick of time. However, this leads to a further confrontation, and with the humiliation that the dude hashes out to Superman, I wouldn't have felt any pity for him even if he got punched through the face. I mean, this guy tried to push Kal-El and he was the one who went back. Luckily, the Man of Steel keeps his cool, just walks away, which is actually just badass in itself. However, the real vindication arrives when that weirdo realizes that his ride has been totaled, and that too in the most brutal way possible. The fact that it's not a random car but an actual truck only further proves how bad it could have been for the drunkard had it not been for Superman's kindness. Heck, that truck could have been Optimus Prime for all we care, and he still would have ended up that way. Hey, now that's a battle I wouldn't mind watching, no matter how one-sided it might be.
Never.
Sony may have the Andrew Garfield snap and the MCU may have the Thanos snap, but the one that resonates the strongest is Superman snapping Zod's neck. Okay, maybe it rivals the impact of what happened to Gwen Stacy, but still, this was some dark stuff. Traditional fans of the character didn't like the fact that their favorite superhero is now a murderer, but over time, I think it's safe to say that no one really bats an eyelid to it over 10 years after the movie's release. After all, it was either snapping Zod's neck or watch him laser fry an innocent family. It's a brutal and savage moment, but not in a cool way, as it pushes Superman into dangerous territory. However, it is still a flex because the man was able to defeat an elite Kryptonian fighter with a simple technique. It kind of makes you wonder if Kal-El should have led with that move, but then again, I don't think the end result was on his mind. The overall impact of this scene prepared everyone for a unique take on the superhero genre, which was supposed to be spearheaded by Mr. Zack Snyder. Unfortunately, the follow-through wasn't what the hype made it out to be. You can praise Bruce Wayne all you want for trying to act brave in front of an indestructible god, but the point of the matter is that if Superman wanted it, he would crush the mortal billionaire to tiny pieces without even flinching. The mercy shown here is pretty badass, because once again, Superman doesn't want to end up taking a life like he did with Zod. The part where the Batmobile drifts in front of the Man of Steel is pretty epic if you consider all the slow motion effects tied into it, and the way Superman casually deflects it like a little toy totally cemented his dominance. It's like bro is that one tree in every racing game that wrecks your ride and just ruins your lap time. The seriousness of his tone may be understated, but it's most definitely there. You can tell he's fed up of all the unnecessary hate he's getting from Bruce Wayne, but sadly, there's no room for kindness in this ruthless world. I mean, Batman didn't even return the favor to Kal-El. Normally, people aren't known to repay mercy with a kryptonite grenade to the freaking face. Talk about ungrateful, right?
We, as a population on this planet, have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in a higher power, and every religion believes in some sort of messianic figure.
What better way to kick off my top 10 than to have people actually talking about Superman being a god amongst men? This sequence actually has multiple flexes, with all of them showcasing the Man of Steel saving people from disaster. However, the one that stands out the most to me is when he drags a massive freaking ship across ice as if he's plowing a field or something. I know this guy is strong, but it hits different when you actually see it in action. Even when he saves the rocket crew from the explosion, it doesn't seem like he's using all of his strength. Plus, if Neil deGrasse Tyson is speaking in your favor, even science is on your side. However, if we were to choose a scene that perfectly encapsulates Superman's persona, it's when that lady on top of the house reaches out to him like he's her lord and savior. It's one of the images that always flashes in my mind when I think of superheroes in general. Zack Snyder had a lot of gorgeous cinematic moments, and this is the cream of the crop.
If we have to start thinking beyond politics.
Are there any moral constraints on this person? We have international law.
Oil rigs are extremely dangerous places to work, so kudos to all the gutsy men risking their lives every day working on such locations. At least these guys here have Superman for protection, otherwise they wouldn't be getting any further paychecks. They must be wondering who the heck their co-worker is, because the flames couldn't even burn all that chest hair. Bro was winning from every masculine angle you could find. Obviously, the focus of the scene is when Kal-El stops the rig from falling on the chopper, allowing everyone to Schwarzenegger their way out of there. Okay, so full disclosure here, Kal-El does look like he's struggling a bit, but that could be because he hasn't quite understood the scope of his powers just yet. I mean, this is the same dude who was dragging a whole ship in the previous entry. So yeah, it may not have felt like he was at full power yet, but the man still pulled off a rather impressive feat. Honestly, I want a whole Superman movie about him doing stuff like this and kind of being an urban legend. I'd rather take Man of Steel 2 over a reboot any day of the week. If Henry Cavill can drag a ship, then Brandon Routh can lift one. No Superman list is complete without me mentioning Superman Returns, because this movie has been in the dark for way too long. People seem to have started to show their appreciation towards great films of the past, so it becomes my responsibility to tell them that that was a super mature movie that was ahead of its time. Superman is obviously super strong, as can be seen here, where he lifts an entire ship all by himself without really breaking a sweat. However, his true strength is seen when he allows Richard to take his family to safety. The fact that Lois Lane was Richard's wife and the mother of his kid only put the Man of Steel in a better light because he is pure of heart. He doesn't emasculate Richard or mock him, even though he knows very well the massive differences in their levels. What's important is safety, and that's exactly what Kal-El stands for. Ah yes, the infamous Doomsday fight lands at number 7 on this list. I would have actually placed it a bit higher if the Man of Steel actually ended up surviving this. I mean, it's always more badass if you're still alive at the end of the flex. The importance of this sacrifice can't be understated at all, because that was literally the only way to end Doomsday. Thanks to Batman taking up Superman's precious time with that completely pointless battle earlier on, Lex Luthor had enough time to put his evil plan into motion. Even with the support of Wonder Woman and the escape tactics of Bruce Wayne, there wasn't much that Superman could do here. Even his heat vision couldn't match the level of a nuked up Doomsday. Zack Snyder might not have gotten this movie right, but he did get the ending of the battle perfectly, with the dramatic music and ominous visuals blasting into the audience. The most badass aspect about the whole thing was obviously seeing Superman fighting hard against the Kryptonite spear and managing to muster enough strength to land a direct hit. Brandon Routh finds his way again in a scene that's probably remained the most popular moment from this film. The bullet to the eye scene was a perfect way to shower praises upon the Man of Steel. We all know that he's fast enough to stop the bullet, but he still allows the goon to shoot his shot because he probably thought it would be a little bit funny. Imagine flexing so hard that you don't even have to say a word and just stand there. Everything else happening around Superman eventually led him to giving us this memorable moment, so I think we should spare a thought for the poor goon because he clearly didn't know who he was up against. If I was in his place, I'd have surrendered the moment I saw that blue suit. You know, I really wish they recreated this scene in the modern era, but now with Henry Cavill gone, I don't know if anyone else is good enough to step in for it. Brandon Routh is really cashing in towards the end of this list, isn't he? Then again, there are so many epic saves in this film that it would be a crime for me not to include them. Take the airplane scene for example. Only a fool wouldn't include it in his top 5. Let me remind you that this isn't just a plane, also a rocket that the Man of Steel dismounts from the aircraft and then guides into space. After that, he moves towards the primary target and saves everyone while also getting them the best view at a baseball game. Remember when Homelander said he couldn't save the plane in season 1 of The Boys? Yep, it immediately reminded me of this scene and what a real hero could do. Bro even gives a public safety announcement about flying after doing the most Superman thing on the planet. Also, how Lois survived so many years without Clark Kent will always remain a mystery to me. That woman always finds herself in the middle of some dragon level threat. All it takes is one bad day to change everything. That's pretty much what happens in this horrific vision that Cyborg witnesses. Losing Lois Lane and his unborn child would have done the worst possible number on Superman, and as luck would have it, the only one who's there for him happens to be Darkseid. What follows after may not have been shown in detail, but the implications are more than enough for us to realize that Kal-El has just gone on a killing spree and ended pretty much everyone in his path. The way he tosses the Batman head aside as if he's a toy he doesn't want to play with anymore totally sent chills down my spine. Also, now it makes sense as to why Cyborg's system attacked Superman upon seeing him. The Vision made it label the Man of Steel as a threat. It's kind of funny to see the first scene from the OG flick as late as number 3, but then again, such films aren't really meant to be put in the lower half of the list, are they? This scene has Superman doing in 1978 what the Flash did in 2021. Reversing time always seems to do the job when it comes to saving lives, and in this case, the lucky girl is Lois Lane once again. Damn it, how clumsy can a girl be? No wonder superheroes need to save them all the time. Of course, the time reversal is a supreme flex, but I also want to point out the rage scream Christopher Reeves lets out when he flies into the sky. That was deadly. It would have probably made even Doomsday question himself. The fact that the next voice we hear is Marlon Brando, aka the freaking Godfather, only adds further impact to an already epic moment.
It is forbidden for you to interfere in human business.
One thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason.
Not impressed.
Imagine being the head of Warner Brothers and thinking, nah, the fans don't want to see this in the cinema halls. Yeah, they sure got that one wrong, because this is the best possible entrance Superman could have ever had in the Justice League. The casual manner in which he takes a direct hit from Steppenwolf only to free smash his battle axe and then kick him away like unworthy filth was badass to the B. The thrashing he hands out right after would only reaffirm what we already knew for so long: there's no one like Superman. It's kind of funny when Kal-El said he wasn't impressed, because his fans sure were. Steppenwolf, on the other hand, was basically depressed. Bro didn't have a single thing going his way after this moment.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you?
I did just mention how odd it was for the OG Superman film to only have its first entry at number 3, but now that it's taken the top spot, I suppose it's more than done enough to redeem itself. The first appearance of the Man of Steel had to be dramatic, and of course had to involve Lois Lane once again in danger, and it sure worked with audiences all over the world. Lifting the chopper with one hand while carrying Lois with the other was probably the ultimate rizz you could pull on a girl back in the 70s. Nowadays, it's just TikTok followers and Instagram likes. Hey, you know who else would have been a huge fan of this scene? Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's who. Superman did just save his favourite vehicle after all. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.